be solid, liquid, or it can be a gaseous form. And how does it comes? It can come out of a manufacturing process from any industry. Some industries are listed here, either petroleum refining or pharmaceutical or anything related with petroleum cracking or paint, aluminium, electronic products. Any kind of industry can generate hazardous waste. Now I want to give an overall scenario of how the India is, what is the status. More than 7.5 million metric tons of hazardous waste is generated roughly around by 50,000 industries across different states. So every state or union territory is having hazardous waste generating industries. And it is out of the total waste that is generated from the industry, it is estimated that only 10 to 15% constitute hazardous waste. So what is very important here is segregation of hazardous waste at the source, where at a different industry or individual industry, there itself you have to isolate and segregate the hazardous waste. That is very key. And if you do that, then 90% of your problem is solved. But if you mix the waste, then it goes to the general waste, and any kind of industrial disaster or chemical disaster can happen, where the management of the general waste contaminated with hazardous waste poses huge cost, huge management and space related problems, because it goes unnoticed. Once it mixed with solid waste and comes in the community or society, nobody knows. Rag picker who handles the waste, he is not aware. So he may be getting exposed, occupational exposure of rag picker or whoever handles that waste in a recycling industry, all of them are at risk. We have 2 to 5% increase growth rate of hazardous waste generation every year. And we have 141 dump sites, and out of this 141, 88 are identified as very critical. In the earlier slide, I have given the dump site repository and inventory. If you go to that repository and the inventory, you will identify which are the 141 sites and which are the 88 critically polluted areas. So hazardous waste generation I have given. Category wise classification: landfillable constitute about 27,000 2.7 million tons, and incinerable waste data I have given, and recyclable waste data also I have given. These are from the Ministry of Environment and Forest, Government of India, from the hazardous waste division. So these figures can be quoted anywhere. It is authentic. These are salient features of the rules of 2016. What are how it is different from the earlier rules? The other waste which is not categorized and covered in the schedule of the rule are categorized as other waste, and they are also to be effectively managed as that of any other hazardous waste. That is important.
And sir, excuse me, sir. Sorry, yes. Sir. Sorry to interrupt you.
Yes, please.
The participants are requesting you to share in the full screen mode, sir. You can press F5 so that it goes for full screen.
Is it available? Full screen mode is visible now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes. Okay. Yes. Okay. Thank you. Wherever such problems are there, please stop me there itself and then ask me to correct it. Okay. Thank you. Waste management is the principle of waste management is, first we should try to prevent the waste up to the minimum extent. How it can be done in the following slides I will explain. We have to try to prevent through process alteration or raw material alteration, or we have to try to minimize by changing the chemical reaction process in which we produce the particular product. We try to recover and reuse, recycling and recovery. These are the things. Co-processing. Co-processing is recently, couple of a decade back, CPCB and the ministry has allowed co-processing of hazardous waste in the waste incinerators, which is specifically designed for it, or for the cement production, or in any other chemical industry where huge amount of energy is needed. Wherever the calorific value of the waste is huge, those calorific value of waste can be segregated and co-processing is allowed. For example, when I was serving in Pondicherry, some of my colleagues from Pondicherry is also here. The Suzlon had a factory in Pondicherry. So Suzlon is a wind energy manufacturing company which had its presence in Pondicherry. They had that plastic waste, FRP waste. And my colleague, Dr. Ramesh, and his team has led the innovation idea, and they made the company to enter into a long-term agreement with the ACC cement factory in Coimbatore. So the FRP plastic waste, which was generated in Suzlon factory at Pondicherry, was transported by ACC according to the transportation guidelines, and then it was used in the ACC cement plant in their boilers. These are schedules of the rules. What cannot be explained in detail within the short rules is given, and as an annexure, it is annexed in the Schedule 1 and Schedule 2. Schedule 1 are given wherein different kinds of chemical processes are listed in which hazardous waste is generated. Schedule 2 gives the concentration. Some are not lethal if it is stored, say, 1 kg or 2 kgs. But if there is a threshold concentration of more than 10 kg or 50 kg, such quantity is specified in the Schedule 2. And there is a specific set of conditions and what are the kinds of waste can be imported or exported is given in the Schedule 3. And a separate schedule is given for the waste such as metal scrap, paper waste, or various categories of electrical and electronic components for which the import or export is you require CPCB or the ministry's permission, because whatever the waste that is generated by Japan or Europe or US or any other developed countries are finding the market in the Asian countries and less developed countries, because either we reuse the computers or laptops that is coming from other countries as such as a second-hand branded, or we try to recover all the recoverable materials from the particular electrical or electronic components. In Delhi, we have the Asia's biggest wholesale market is there. You go to the market, there cannot be a particular substance or waste which is not available in that particular market. But storage is only 10 is to 10, 10 by 10 or 20 by 10 room only is there. You go and tell them that I want this particular waste. He will immediately give you a phone number and ask them, you go and see there the particular quantity, how much quantity you want, they will give you. But as officials, if we try to locate, it is next to impossible to track it. So such kind of organized, but it is unorganized network of waste recycling happens across the globe. So these are some of the categories that are mentioned in the rules: arsenic, cadmium, chromium, lead, manganese, mercury. Most of them are heavy metals and all of them having highly toxic nature. Nickel, benzene, vinyl chloride, pesticide, insecticide, and dioxins and polychlorinated biphenyl compounds. These are listed, and where from these originate, that is also given on the right side of the slide. This is from the repository of generation, which I am telling. Andhra Pradesh, state-wise, different kind of waste and the total waste that is generated from each state is given. These are the kind of waste that is from the total sector: steel and blast furnace, brine mud, copper slag, or any kind of clean or lime sludge, coal washery dust, iron tiling or limestone waste. These are the other kind of waste which is there presently in different places in the landfill or different industry level storage itself. This, what is the key is we have to have a network of waste exchange banks. I try to, from the CPHUO guideline manual, I try to list out and tabulate what are the different kinds of waste having different applications, which can be that, whereby this means we can reuse the waste as such or with processing. So fly ash, how it can be used in different places, the furnace slag, how it can be used in different application, ferroalloy and metallurgical slags, how it can be used, byproducts of gypsum, how it can be used in different industrial applications. I have tried to list out from the CPHUO manual, which is available in the internet. Anybody can look into. It is a very good authentic document of hazardous waste management, which is available in the net. You can refer. So what are the key issues of disposal? Proper collection, storage, packing and transportation and treatment. These are the different steps involved in the proper scientific handling of hazardous waste.
So sorry to interrupt you again.
Yes, please.
Once again, one participant, I think he should mute his mics. Sharan Iyer. Sharan Prasad. Please mute your mic. Okay, sir, you can go ahead.
The hazardous waste facility, either it can be located within the industry, which can afford a big industry which is having hundreds of acres of land and they don't want to give it to a scientific disposal common waste company, or if it is very far from the common waste, then they can have their own captive treatment facility within the industry, or they can have become a member of a common industry. We have a number of more than 100 common treatment facility across different states and union territory in India. More than 40 common hazardous waste treatment facility, more than 100 what I told, that is solid waste and biomedical waste facility included, that is crossing more than 100. Only specifically for hazardous waste, we have more than 40 odd facilities spread across 17 states and union territory. There are many waste like battery waste, used oil, waste oil, catalyst, tires, paper waste. These can be readily used as a raw material for material recovery or recycling in different recycling industry. Yeah, mostly recycling industry before these kind of rules, they were operating in the unorganized sector without following any kind of scientific mechanism or scientific way of recovering and reusing the valuable material. But according to this rule, there are authorized recyclers also, which is numbering more than 1100 people, and 47 cement plants across the India have been permitted for co-processing the calorific value waste extraction, and 108 industries are permitted for utilization of hazardous waste. In Coimbatore itself, you have ACC cement plant which is doing. I am quite sure Dr. Mohan Raj can give similar example in Trichy. Do you have any waste treatment facility in Trichy?
Yes, sir. We have some waste treatment facility. There are 1 or 2 incinerators. Common treatment facility.
Okay, I know one thing for sure. Tanjavur has a common biomedical waste facility, because in Pondicherry, from the Union Territory region of Karaikal, we used to send the we used to permit transportation of biomedical waste from the hospitals from Karaikal to Tanjavur, because that is very near, instead of transporting it to Pondicherry, which is far away. So I know that Tanjavur has some facility.
Yes, sir. In Tanjavur, I think in the recent cyclone, Gaja cyclone had devastated the treatment plant, and it's not functional now.
Okay,
anyway.
Thanks for the information. What are the problems if I don't scientifically dispose of the hazardous waste? What is it is going to do it? Dioxin and furans, when especially plastic product having PVC and related compounds, if it is not burnt in the controlled or desired temperature of more than 400 degree to 750 degree, then we are having a problem that it may emit dioxin and furans, and these two gases are harmful because these are proved carcinogens, cancer causing. And mercury or any other heavy metal which may result in air pollution, if it goes in the slurry form or in the wastewater treatment as sludge, it is going to contaminate our receiving water bodies or the groundwater and also the soil. The moment it enters the soil or water, rest assured we are going to have it in our food chain and food web. So these are very important why we have to do scientific disposal of our waste. And many of these pollutants are affecting either the brain or skin, or it can cause genetic defects and cancer. I am going to have a very lighter presentation in my second part of today's lecture, but there I will give classical example of these different effects of toxicants. So we need to have a systematic scientific disposal mechanism. So co-processing, as I told, FRP waste from Switzerland are being given to the ACC, or industrial hazardous waste can be given to the waste incinerator. Prohibition of, there are certain restrictions regarding what waste we can import. But I am sorry to say, there are procedures how they just try to bypass these procedures and tell, sir, this is not waste, these are some other product. And for customs also, it is next to impossible to open up each and every consignment and see. Though Central Pollution Control Board and the bigger state pollution control board where port or these airports are there, we incorporate and we impart regular training to the customs and the airport authorities also as to what are the different kinds of waste, how it is to be identified, and if at all there is an identification problem, how it is to be tested. We impart training to customs people from time to time. But due to number of constraints, they always the importer always try to fool the system. So they import a number of such already discarded or any other material or gadgets which has ended its active lifespan in the respective country. They try to bring it into the third world countries and they try to recycle or reuse these waste as such. So this poses a very big problem. So this rule gives a number of imported items which are prohibited for import. And this is another very big problem. Other than the hazardous waste, the fly ash generated from different thermal power stations are also constituting hazardous waste, because many fly ashes have mercury in it, in the fly ash flue gas, and in also when ESP is functional, and when the bottom ash you get mercury. So encapsulation, and then without allowing the fly ash to leaching, it is very effective, very essential to recycle this fly ash and properly, or store it in a secured landfill. These are the total megawatt of thermal power station generation, we have this much of fly ash, 217 million tons of fly ash generation, and the utilization is, there is a huge gap between the generation and utilization. So MOEF has a big committee on it, and it recommends using of fly ash in the mines, roads, bricks, and the cement sector. There are number of governing legislations for better hazardous waste management and hazardous chemical management. What are they? Public Liability Insurance Act 1991. This act is administered by the district collector concerned. Any industry which is specified as per the act, as per this act, has to take an insurance policy, and that insurance policy for that particular industry, the amount varies depending upon the capacity, production capacity of the industry, and depending upon the toxicity of the raw materials that they use, and depending upon that insurance policy worth for some lakhs or sometimes even worth of crores is available, and this insurance policy has to be renewed every year and submitted to the district collector. Based on this insurance policy, if at all an accident happens, the district collectorate can encash this insurance policy and take the cash and use for the compensation of the victims in terms of lives, or for medical treatment, or for agricultural loss, or for remediation of the contaminated land. So this is very important. Though it is under the Ministry of Environment and Forest and Pollution Control Board, this particular act is administered and implemented by the district collectorate. This is a very important information which I want to give to the participant. Like that, manufacture, storage, and import of hazardous chemicals is there. In this, there are three important provisions are there. One, on-site emergency plan is to be there in accordance with the rules. What is on-site emergency plan? If I am the industry and I have this particular chemical which is harmful, I should have a particular set of rules and guidelines wherein the entire worker and officer population of the industry should know what is the name of the chemical, what is its common name, what is its chemical nature, what is its toxicity, and if in case of accident, what should be done. This is called as, this should be in a very bullet form. It should be, a poster should be prepared, and it should be pasted in all workstations and the management office of the industry. This is called MSDS sheet, nothing but material safety data sheet. It will have common name, chemical structure, nature of that particular chemical, and in case of accident, what should precaution immediately should be taken. This is on-site emergency plan. It is at the operation level. At the back-end office level, the management will have a team comprising of a doctor or a list of hospitals, the transportation ambulances, where from it will come, who are all the authorities to whom they have to inform immediately, and the transportation plan of the vehicles and other emergency service vehicles, how it will come, how it will go, all these things should be there in another set of plan that is called off-site emergency plan. On-site means this will be there within the industry. The off-site emergency plan will be there with the industry as well as with the concerned district authorities. Who are the concerned district authorities? District collectorate, concerned commissioner or local body, factory inspectorate, pollution control board, police, fire station, and a number of other agencies which may be requiring depending upon the nature of the industry. So these two things are specified in this manufacture, storage, and import of hazardous chemicals. A similar thing is there, chemical accident emergency planning and preparedness response rules. In this rule, a local level committee, a district level committee, and a state level crisis management committee is constituted under this particular chemical accident rule, and the composition of the committee is prescribed, and the roles and responsibility of each officer or each department is prescribed under the rule, and also to the industry what are the roles and assistance the industry will give, that is also given. Like that, we have PCB regulation, one order is there, chemical lead content in the paint. Why lead is a problem? Lead is having the affecting neurological system, brain, and it hampers the development if it is exposed beyond a concentration limit in the newborn and in the young. So the government of India has come out with the composition of lead, the concentration of lead in that paint, that is specified. Like that, persistent organic pollutant which we use as a number of chemical operation and also as pesticides, the particular rule is there. All the rules has the preventive principle, how to prevent and how to minimize, and the third composition is what are the problems in case if it is exposed beyond the limit, and how to bring it to the control in the treatment system, either in the air pollution control system or in the water control pollution control system or in the sludge management, how it is to be managed. All these set of rules govern these 3 or 4 preventive and precaution principles only. And why these rules have come? Government of India is a party to a number of agreements called Basel in Germany, because of which hazardous substances rule has come. Minamata Convention, because of this elimination of mercury from a number of instruments, especially thermometer, BP meter, and other barometric experimentation and instrumentation is happening. So these are the conventions and the treaties where we are signing different Basel Convention and Minamata Convention. And these are the slides, little bit of repetition is there. How much TSDF facilities is there in different states and union territories, and how much CETPs, common effluent treatment plants, and how much sludge are the industries are operating within the common effluent treatment plant, everything is given. What is the problem? Why there is a problem of hazardous waste management? Any industry, when it comes, actually I will go a little bit, okay. Any industry, once it is coming, or when a common facility has to come, everybody has a syndrome called NIMBY syndrome. What is NIMBY syndrome? Not in my backyard. Near my residence, near my colony, near my area, or near to any habitations, this facility should not come. We across in India, we have this problem everywhere. Any city generates waste, solid waste. But if you want to have a solid waste facility, no colony or no place want that facility near to that area. Why? Because it will affect pollution, it will affect the property rate, it will have an eyesore effect. So that sentimental and the aesthetic effect of the area will be affected. So nobody wants any kind of common treatment facility near to them. So this is a major problem which we are facing, because we are a developing country having high population density, especially in the rural and urban and semi-urban areas. So we are having a lot of problem in zoning or placing the things in identified places. And if it is a government is there, they don't want to do anything 1 year or 1.5 years before the year of election. Any such public resistance proposals, they don't want to take. Or they think the officer or the elected representative or the government thinks, during my tenure, I will not take up any controversial issues. not in the office during my tenure. These are some of the problems. What to do? Industry should come forward regarding voluntary disclosure, and transparency is to be there, maintained by the industry. And that is the reason today in most of the hazardous waste and highly polluting industries, Central Pollution Control Board and the ministry has mandated that all the industries should have online emission monitoring system, effluent monitoring system, and waste management monitoring system. The respective pollution control board from its different offices, as well as the Central Pollution Control Board in Delhi and its regional offices, can see in the server which industry, which is categorized as highly polluting, not all the industry, but which are the industries which are categorized as highly polluting, whether they are meeting the standard or they are not meeting the standard. This they can see this. Many problem is I told politics, property, perception change we have, so citing and zoning becomes very much difficult, and we have to have a different thinking, make a difference thinking from the point of view of government as well as from the point of view of the industry also, so that we voluntarily come and accept the problem and try to evolve a scientific solution to the problem. And what are the other things? We have to have a credible inventarization, both voluntary and to be made by the respective pollution control boards. 3 R's: reduce, reuse, recycle. These are the principles which needs to be followed even in the waste management. We have to try to minimize the waste, and by substituting the process or the raw material or the chemical reaction, we can go for cleaner production and specific clean technologies for each sector. Ministry of Industries, through National Productivity Council and a number of other institutions, having a specific scheme for cleaner production. So whichever industry want to have any R&D kind of work, they can apply to the Ministry of Industries and they can try to avail capital subsidy and funds for making R&D to minimize the waste. Cost sharing for treatment and disposal based on polluter pay principle should come, and this has come already. It has to be more effectively implemented, and there should be a separate collection mechanism for highly hazardous waste with the online tracking system. This is in the process of implementation in different states, in different stages it is there. Setting up of waste exchange banks and information sharing centers, which need this can be taken up as a entrepreneurship, and many people are already working on it. What are the problems in this treatment, storage and disposal facility are to be identified and they have to be rectified. Industrial association, they have to play a more active role. They think license or pollution control board clearance, and they think it is another piece of paper. They don't want to read. Majority of the industries, they don't want to read what are the conditions specified and what are the conditions that they have to comply with. Nobody want to do it. And the pollution control board is like any other government department. They also have lot of manpower problems and a number of multiple responsibilities with them. So it is next to impossible, like that of custom department. Pollution control department also cannot, in any state or in any country, cannot discharge or go do policing work to each and every industry, unless otherwise the industry want to disclose and they want to manage their own waste. But unfortunately, all the industries have 99% of them have the motto of how to save cost and make more profit, rather than how to scientifically treat their air pollutant or water pollutant or their waste. Rather than they don't want to invest and do R&D or implement the system that goes for pollution control or for the effective waste management. So we have to have longer implementation by the pollution control boards. So how we can improve it? Improved inventory management and improved operation under this heading. We can have all tracing of all raw materials, analyze them for their toxicity, and try to adopt a non-toxic production using different materials. And we should have a purchasing policy of this, purchasing fewer toxic materials, proper employees training and management, and get the feedback. In my second lighter presentation, I have a small poetry on this. I will dwell upon that. So we have to have employees training and management and get their feedback so that course correction and the improvement of the system can be done. And we have to improve our efficiency of material receiving, storage, and handling practices. And at the modification of instrument equipment level, we have to have more highly sophisticated equipment which will produce no waste or very minimum waste, and modification of equipment to enhance recovery or recycling options are there. Redesigning of equipment or production lines to produce lesser waste, improving the efficiency of the entire supply manufacturing chain, and maintaining strict preventive and maintenance program. For in major industries, once in a month, they should have a proper maintenance and prevention of safety maintenance they should have. And production process changes. These are chemical reaction based. Substitution of non-hazardous for hazardous raw materials, segregation of waste by type of recovery, elimination of sources of leaks and spills, separation of hazardous from non-hazardous waste. I mentioned about this because once the wastes are allowed to mix, then you cannot separate. The entire waste becomes hazardous waste. Whereas only 10 to 15% of the waste in an industry is hazardous. But the moment you, without segregation, you allowed the waste to mix, the 100% waste becomes hazardous. Even if you want to handle, then cost and space and time required to handle becomes very harsh. Or otherwise, if you throw it in the garbage and goes to the general waste, then it can produce any kind of accident or occupational exposure or number of other chemical contamination of water or air, water and soil can happen. Redesigning or reformulation to be less hazardous, optimization of reaction and raw material use, recycling and reuse, installation of closed loop systems, recycling of offsite for use, and setting up of waste exchange banks. These are the some of the way forward that one can attain. So with some of the insights, I try to give this presentation. And Dr. Mohan Raj, how you want me to proceed? Can I take the question for this and then proceed with the second presentation, or how you want to go about?
There are some questions, sir, actually, and but if you want to proceed, how long it will go, sir? The next talk,
another half an hour or so. If you wish, I can even compress that.
Yeah, yes, sir. You can go for a compressed mode, maybe 20 minutes, and then we can take the questions.
Okay, okay. I will try to put up that second one. 1 second.
I think meanwhile the participants can type your questions in the chat box so that we can ask the resource person to answer. எல்லா கொஸ்டின் முடிஞ்சுதா?
Dr. Mohanraj, is it visible?
Yes, sir, it's visible. Can you go for a full screen mode, sir?
Okay, I am just going.
F5. Yes, sir, correct.
This is a little bit further very light kind of a presentation. So after having a heavy dose of for the audience, I would like to go. See, most of them are from Tamil Nadu, so I would like to start this thing. For others who don't understand Tamil, I have given an English write-up also. Enni tunige kanurmam tuninda pin envom enbadu ilukku. This is the great poet Thiruvalluvar's Thirukural. What is mentioned here is before doing an act.
Any other industry like steel or can use the waste in Kagran.
Before doing an act, please plan and do it. The idea or attitude of let us see it afterwards is an insult to the process and may result in unwanted consequences. What probably he means is this is applicable to a number of management, so it is applicable to the industrial process also. And the second adag is alavukku minjinal amridamum nanju. It is nothing but even if it is amrita, which is the divine blessing liquid, even if it is there beyond a concentration or beyond a point of volume of intake, it also can turn to poison. All things are poison, none without poison, only the dose determine the between the poison and remedy. So this is an adag or saying by the father of toxicology, who is Paracelsus. So he has uttered these words more than a century ago. This is very true, and we can have a number of day-to-day examples. It can have relate to our own food intake or any kind of beverage intake or alcohol or any drug usage also. This is what I always used to fondly tell from my college days. Presence of a substance at a wrong place in wrong amounts in wrong and physical chemical forms always poses a problem to its management. Many substances are pollutant or toxicant in their particular chemical or physical form, but not in the other form. Same in way, all material that can have plant or animal or human being, everything is constituted by chemicals, and different chemical composition is made of our furniture or construction material or industrial chemicals or products or consumer goods, medicines. You do name any product that we use, everything contains chemicals. Proper composition and combination emerge into useful product, but if it is improper management, it leads to disaster and can result in contamination of air, water, or soil. For example, from the day we start brushing, fluoride-based oral health care. Fluoride requires to prevent dental caries. பல்லு சொத்தையாரத தடுக்கிறதுக்காக fluoride வேணும். But if the fluoride is excess, then it causes skeletal or dental fluorosis, which was part of my pre-research project in an endemic area in and around Coimbatore and Erode district. So before using fluoride-based toothpaste, please consult your doctors, dental doctor, and the guiding document for where to use and how to use fluoride-based products. You can refer to this particular link. These are images of skeletal fluorosis. These are images of dental fluorosis. Second, pesticides and vegetables, fruits and vegetables. Pesticide concentration is to be taken into account. Organochlorine and organophosphorus group of pesticides, carbamates, are really a cause of concern. Bioaccumulation and biomagnification. Why all those hazardous waste or hazardous chemicals are very particularly harmful is, once it enters into the food chain and food web, it not only gets accumulated in a smaller organism, whichever organism consumes the smaller organisms in the food chain and food web, the concentration increases. So this is not only bioaccumulation, but the concentration is increased, and this phenomena is called biomagnification. Classical example is for malaria control. In India, across the board, we still use dichloro-diphenyl trichloroethane, DDT. But for this is having a potent toxicant, and it is having the effect of classing the placenta. That is, if mother or parents are affected, it will go to the next generation.
Sorry to interrupt you again, sir. One participant tried to share the presentation so that everything got disturbed. So you need to again, I think, stop and again start the presentation, sir.
Now is it okay? How many slides they have seen this? These images they have seen?
Yes, sir.
Which one you have seen?
Yes, sir. Yes.
And this one
sir.
you have seen? And
yes.
this
Yeah,
one?
Yes.
And this, I was talking about toothpaste. This you have seen?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Everything is fine, sir. Yeah, you can again maybe stop sharing and then again start sharing it, because one participant, he tried to share his presentation. He's tried to share his slide.
Okay.
So everything got disturbed.
So I have to stop and again start.
Again start. Yeah. Stop sharing and again you have to present it.
Resume presenting. Is it coming?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, fine. You can go for full screen mode.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Done. Go
Yes,
ahead,
sir.
sir.
So most of this has a effect of bioaccumulation and biomagnification, and there are certain preventive mechanisms that are inherently built in our body. What are they? I put it as BBB and PB. Blood-brain barrier, placental barrier. Skin is also one barrier. But the most of the heavy metals and toxicants are having the nature to cross both blood brain and go to and affect the neurological system, and they can affect the placenta, they can go beyond the placenta and affect the fetus also. So these are the important reasons why we have to effectively manage any toxicant or chemicals. And our classical example in India is Bhopal, where methyl isocyanate leaked and more than 5,000 people and more than 50,000 people affected. Kasargod, where cashew nut plantation, for that they used the extensive use of pesticide, because of which stillbirths and even congenital defect, even today children are born with deformities. And as I mentioned in Bhopal tragedy, simple antidotes are not known, like that of wetting a cloth or kerchief and putting to our respiration would have greatly prevented a number of lives lost and how they got affected. These are images of skeletal deformities in the Kasargod, and the Kasargod images. Bhopal image I already shown in the other presentation. Occupational exposure. Here I would like to highlight some of the classical case studies. All chemicals are in the laboratory that we use and sanitary usage, floor cleaners, toilet cleaners, or if it is not of a proper brand and if its chemical composition is not written in the label, we should avoid purchasing it, because most of them can contain harmful chemicals beyond a concentration, because of which usage we as individual user can be affected, our children can be affected. For example, in a classical doctor, I met a doctor way back when I was doing my thesis from All India Institute of Medical Sciences, Delhi. She was Dr. A.K. Sushila. She came here for National Fluoride Removal Drinking Water Mission to a collectorate in Erode. So I established a contact. These are today's contact is like I am speaking and all across, including my colleagues from Delhi, they are all listening and seeing me. But in those days, I had written an inland letter to her, and she responded to me and told, I am coming to Erode, you come and meet me. So myself and my senior, we both went and met her. Why I am telling, she was telling us a classical story where she is a public health specialist. She is an occupational and public health specialist. To her, a case was referred from a rural area. A laborer or just a unskilled laborer kind of a person had a classical dental and skeletal fluorosis. He was not using anything that is containing fluoride based, or he was not exposed to any kind of endemic area where his water or his agriculture produce which he consumes are contaminated with fluoride. Then he tried to analyze and try to find out why this has happened. He was a one-man army kind of a manufacturer. He was manufacturing unbranded thermometer, in which he was having mercury as well as fluoride, because of which he got exposed. And this he was not at all knowing. Even if he was not referred to this particular department in the hospital, his disease could have gone unnoticed. Okay, and many have harmful effects and some are carcinogenic. There is another case study. There is a college, medical college in Delhi, which is known as called as Maulana Azad Medical College. There, a lady pathology professor was there, and she came to a center headed by one of my mentor, Dr. T.K. Joshi. He is retired now. He is an expert in occupational and environmental medicine. To her, she came because she was having complete decoloration of face and the entire body skin and she is having dryness of skin. She herself is a pathology professor, and she has taken and consulted all kind of medicines that is prescribed by her institute doctors and also any doctor. It is a super specialty government hospital in Delhi. So she went to Dr. T.K. Joshi, who is in charge of the occupational and environmental health, and he told, okay, madam, I will like to come and see your workplace. And Dr. Joshi was closely observing her workplace from morning to evening for about 15 days. And after that, he has identified certain processes, laboratory processes, and certain chemicals which the madam was handling herself as a part of her pathology work. And he asked her to withdraw from that chemical. But before doing that, they have conducted a cytological analysis of her chromosomal level analysis of her present condition. And after 3 months, she started slowly recovering. Why I am telling this is that pathology professor was driven to an extent of quitting the job and committing suicide, because she tried anything and everything, but she was not having, face was unrecognizable, it has become ugly, it was become so dry, and the skin has been affected. But once she has withdrawn herself from this particular chemical, slowly she started improving. And then after 3 months, after 6 months, and after 1 year, since they are from an institution, they have conducted cytological studies, chromosome level studies, and documented it also. And the international level, they bagged the best prize for that paper. And after 1 year, she has already almost become normal. Why I am telling, many day-to-day laboratory chemicals for which we are exposed also, we have to be very careful and follow the precaution. If we have to put mask, we have to put mask. If we have to put a long gloves, then we have to put those long gloves. Unless otherwise, we will be affected. Another example is, there is a very big group, JK group, Singhania group example. They had one of the promoter of the group who went to a final party in Bombay and told, I am going for replacement of my knees, because I tried all doctors in India. I am not going to get any relief, so I am going abroad. This happened around 20 years back. And he went to abroad. He was telling his friends, I am going to abroad. I have fixed appointment with the US, and then I am going to have my complete replacement, knee replacement. Those days, knee replacement was a very major, complicated, huge surgery involving not only the cost but also the techniques. So one of his very close friend, he told, if I tell something, will you listen to me? He told, yes, why not? He told, there is a hospital, specialty hospital in Bombay. You go and meet Breach Candy Hospital in Bombay and try to meet this particular professor there. I will give you a reference. Since the person who referred, he could not deny his advice, he went to the doctor and told, okay, that doctor also asked him, what are your habits? What you do from the morning to evening? You tell me that. So this gentleman narrated him. You know, he was taking about 20 packets of pan parak every day. Can you imagine 20 packets of pan parak every day? And that was the culprit. Then the doctor, within 1 week, he identified what was the culprit, and he told, sir, after 1 month you come, but in these 30 days, how much packets you can reduce per day? You reduce the consumption of pan parak. Slowly, maybe 1 packet per week or 2 packets per week. So after 1 month, he also sincerely tried to reduce consumption, and he was reporting back to the doctor. Within 3 to 6 months, he had substantial relief, and slowly he tried to withdraw it from consuming pan parak within a year. And totally he was all right. No replacement surgery was required till his death. This is an example of how our day-to-day habits, wherein we pick up either a wanted habit or an unwanted habit, which results in our very harmful effect on our health. And another one is Japan example. I had a 1-month training program in Japan during 2008.
Sorry to interrupt you again, sir.
Yes, please.
We have another 5 to 10 minutes, sir.
I'll complete. I'll complete.
We need to take up more questions also.
Yes,
There are few questions.
After this slide, I will complete. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
In 2008, after seeing the industries, I was telling them either you have overconfidence on your technology or you think you have taken nature for granted. Why? If any of you have visited Japan, most of their chemical industries, harmful industries, all of them are located along the coastline. In 2008, I told you have taken either the nature for granted or you are having too much of confidence on your technology. Why I told is, first, the location of industry in the along the coast is not a correct one. Second, it is a highly seismically active zone, Japan, the entire Japan. So I told, because of this, in 2011, they had a huge accident and earthquake caused by earthquake in Fukushima. And what happened after that is everybody's there. So in our day-to-day use, acid, alkali, it can be heavy metals in any of our product that we use. And most of the products of which are heavy metals are harmful chemical. They have an add-on effect that is called synergistic effect or an antagonistic effect. One chemical may not have that much effect, but in combination with another chemical, they will react among each other and they will have higher toxicity effect also. And industrial exposure can also happen both within the industry, or if industrial accident happens, it can happen outside the industry also. This is Minamata exposure. These are Minamata deformities. And even the soot, that is black carbon soot, is found in the unborn and the placenta of the mother. This is the extent of contamination that we are facing. And for today's youngsters, alcohol, smoking, tobacco in any form, all are harmful. Animal protein consumption, especially from the affected area. If it is a particularly any heavy metal or pesticide affected area, because it enters the food chain and food web, that also increases. Plastic products usage. We have the habit of sending emails, or earlier we used to forward, or now we have the habit of forwarding forwards in WhatsApp and memes. Each one of it is increasing our global warming. One email costs 1 gram of CO2. I have a statistics. Foreign plastics have invaded even Greater Nicobar Island, where Andaman Nicobar Island, plastic is not there. But the various plastics that enter into our ocean, 8 million metric tons of plastic is estimated to enter our oceans. Even Andaman and Nicobar Islands had the ocean plastics. Environmental cost of a digital planet, which I have given, 1 MB of email costs this much of CO2. If sharing information and technology of is information technology sector emit around 2.5% of the global emissions, and it is going to increase. It has increased by 4% to this thing. WhatsApp unnecessary forwarding, sharing, good morning messages and memes adds a lot of CO2 emissions. Someone else is making profit and we are getting polluted in the process. Creativity in memes can be diverted to creation of useful innovations. Many students are here, so please try to, I have only concentrated on hazardous chemical and hazardous waste. There are number of other specialized waste, e-waste, biomedical waste, solid waste, hazardous waste and hazardous chemicals I have completed. Many chemicals that you use have the placental barrier and blood-brain barrier. This is statistics on how much e-waste state-wise we generate in India. Reproductive issues, what are the impact of improper disposal that is there, and This is the zoning and the NIMBYs. I told zone industry comes, shops around the industry comes, economic activity around the industry starts, habitation around the industry happens, real estate around the industry happens, amongst of the workers it comes, and there are no buffer zones are allowed by the local authority. If accident happens, the entire area is affected and industry alone is blamed. Neither the authority, local area or the local politician, none of them is blamed. Zoning and land use is very much essential, and the MSDS data sheet, awareness on simple antidote is there. Any chemical before you use, see either International Register of Potentially Toxic Chemicals for their toxicity and the precautions to be taken. So thank you very much for all of you. I have given for this presentation, I think Dr. Mohan Raj might share with the participants. I have given a list of governing legislation with their links. So
Yes.
Thank you very much for.
Sir, I think we can take 5 questions.
Yes, please.
Yes, sir. Shall I read out the questions, sir?
Yes, please.
We have, I think, 5 to 10 minutes. So I'll read the first question. What is the percentage of hazardous waste to MSW, municipal solid waste? One participant has asked. Is there any relation between hazardous waste to MSW?
See, it depends upon where from the solid waste comes. If it is comes squarely from a domestic area, hazardous waste composition will be very less. If it is coming from a commercial area, then hazardous waste composition will be little bit more. If it is exclusively mixed with industrial solid waste as well as industrial hazardous waste, then the concentration will be more. There is a ratio available from solid waste to biomedical waste. Around 7 to 8% of the solid waste, the contamination is around 7 to 8%. But in my the moment biomedical waste or hazardous waste is mixed with the general waste, the entire waste becomes either hazardous or it becomes a biomedical waste.
Okay, sir. The second question. There is an issue with the mixed salt generated from the tannery, dyeing and pharma industries. Any R&D done in this particular field?
I have given in my first presentation standard operating procedure of around 45 different industries, and its link is also there.
Okay.
The participant is requested to refer that SOP. If it is there, go ahead, or otherwise in my first slide, I have given my email ID for any of the question due to paucity of time, or if I don't know the answer, you can always post your problem to my email ID. I will refer the concerned person and then I will get back to you with a classical answer. Thank you.
Yes. In fact, we have recorded the meeting and it will be posted in our website, in our web page.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. There is another question.
Yes,
can
please.
anything be done for bio hazardous waste management in India? Bio.
See, there is a specific rule called manufacture and import of genetically engineering and hazardous processes. That is actually implemented by the forest department. So I am not having much of it. There is a genetic engineering approval committee is there in every state and also in the central government. So any process that involves the microbiological and genetic engineering level research and other developmental activities, these are to be performed in accordance with that particular rule. In the presentation where I have given a number of legislation, I think that legislation link also will be there. So one can refer to that particular rules for manufacture, use, import and export and storage of hazardous microorganisms, genetically engineered organisms, which I have given. I have given the link also. So the participant can please refer to this. If you have any specific operational question, you can post to me.
So, okay, sir. Another participant asks, at present, cement plant can use hazardous waste in the cement kiln. Likewise, is there any other industry like steel or can use this hazardous waste?
Yes, please. Co-processing whichever uses a high thermal heating, where this calorific value of hazardous waste portion, not the entire hazardous waste, where the calorific value, I think some of the participants, if Dr. Ramesh is there, he can correct me, more than 1500 calorific value is there. Those hazardous waste can be co-processed in the cement plant also. Vipin, are you there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You proceed.
Hey, Vipin, this is the answer. Vipin, one of my colleagues, are you there?
Proceed, sir. Please
No,
go ahead.
This is the answer. Yes, they can process in the cement plant.
Yes, sir. There are many questions, but we'll take 2 more questions, sir.
Hey, what Dr. Mohan Raj, what you do is you pass on all the questions. These next 3 questions I will answer. You pass on all the questions to me by email. I will reply to each one of them to you, so that you can then pass on to the individual participant.
Fine, sir. No problem. And the next question is the pesticides and herbicides used in agriculture hazardous or not? If yes, what are the harmful effects to humans? Anyway, it's a common question.
That is what I told. No, from the parents, it can go to the next generation. Even to the parent, it can cause the deformities in the physicochemical or skeletal deformities. It can cause. It can go to the next generation also. Classical example is Kasaragod in Kerala. What we have to do is integrated pest management. We have to do it. Biological bioinsecticide and biopesticide we should try to use. And pesticide means 1 liter of water, 5 ml of this pesticide only is to be applied. We have to apply only 5 ml in 1 liter. Just because I am having lot of pest, I will put 15 ml and then pump everywhere means not only the crop is affected, your soil is going to be affected, your water is going to be affected, whatever that is going to be grown with that water or in the soil, everything will be affected, and whoever consumes it, it will also be affected.
Okay, sir. Thank you. We'll take the last question, sir. It's another interesting question. Can the green chemistry help elimination of hazardous chemicals?
Yes, that is one of the slide which I gave in the first presentation. The process modification, where substitution of raw materials and also substitution of processes, wherein lesser process which will be given. That is green chemistry only. Lot of research is required in it, both by the academic institutions as well as by the industry themselves. Then this can reduce a number of waste management and industrial disaster problems.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much. I have one point to clarify probably as the last. Whenever we talk about the hazardous materials and hazardous waste.
Yes, please.
And after the disastrous episodes, finally, the investigation as well as the report comes to one conclusion, that is negligence. The human error or technological error, or finally it comes to the negligence. So, and also another thing is even relevant to this, whenever we talk about the disaster, we talk about, is there any chronic effect of the hazardous materials in the environment? We always talk about acute problems or acute disaster issues. Hazardous materials in the environment, will it have any chronic effect?
See, good that you have raised this point. What is POP? POP is nothing but persistent organic pollutant.
Yeah.
Heavy metal contamination. Many heavy metal contamination and persistent organic pollution. We are not talking about acute effect. In those things, we are talking about chronic effect. Classical example is Kasaragod and Bhopal, even Chernobyl in Russia. If you remember in 1982, who reported Chernobyl accident? Russia never came out and told we have a radiological problem. It was radiation effect was there in the air, and Ireland had the first impact. They had some radioactive measurement in Ireland. they have measured and told some unusual radiological activity is there. They told it a concept, it may be from any accident from any one of the plant in from Russia. Then slowly after 4 or 5 days or 1 week, Russia came out and told, yes, we had a small accident in one of our nuclear power plant. So these are many of the persistent organic pollutant, heavy metals, or nuclear waste, or a number of other characteristics of the waste. We are talking about chronic effect only, not acute effect alone.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, sir. And almost all the participants have said that it is very wonderful and informative session, and many say that it's very comprehensive. You have cut across all the disciplines as far as waste is concerned, across industries, across the chemical type, across the compound, and it's overall it was very wonderful, sir. I personally thank you so much for such a wonderful presentation.
Thank you,
And,
Dr. Mohan Raj. Only 1 second I will take. I am
Yes.
serving as a expert member in Research and Environment Committee in the Ministry of Environment and Forest also. And tomorrow I am having a presentation with Karpagam University, wherein I am giving a similar lecture of what are the common mistakes that we do while formulating a research and development proposal, and what we should do and what we should not do. And I am also going to highlight some of the thematic area and a number of project proposals that we have considered and approved in our different R&D meetings. I will circulate the link to Dr. Mohan Raj. Whoever is interested, please join tomorrow also. And my one more request for various college faculties who are there, please do formulate good research proposals from South India, because I represent South India. I was serving in North India. We don't get good number of proposals from South India. So you also formulate, see tomorrow's proposals which I am presenting. See those proposals, similar proposals you prepare, and also circulate to your friends across South India, and let a good number of proposals, let it come from South India. Thank you very much. I thank Dr. Mohan Raj and his team, and also Bharatdasan University for providing me this opportunity. Thank you all the
Thank you a lot, sir. Thank you, sir.
for patiently listening also.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Participants are requested to, submit the feedback through the link if they need a certificate. Thank you
And-
also, sir. Thank you, Dwarakath, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Mohan Raj. In case if you are having the feedback about the lecture, please compile it and then send it to me, so that it will help me in improving
Yes, sir.
my
Yes.
lecture. Thank you.
Sure, sir. Sure, sir. Sir, now itself you can see the chat box. You can just open the chat box.
But the moment this is closed, I cannot see all.
I'll keep it for some time, sir. It is, you can see the
Okay,
chat
then,
box. There
okay.
are 220 messages to you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
I'll keep it open for some time.
Thank you. Thank
So
you
all
very
the
much.
participants can leave the platform, and probably Dr. Dwarkanath may read out all the
I would like to thank some of my colleagues, both from WAPCOS and also from Delhi government, and from the fellow professors from different people who are personally known to me, and also from my personal friends and my classmates, whoever have attended today's session. Thank you very much, and then hope to interact with you continuously. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
ಬರ್ಬೋದು. ಕಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾನೆ. ನನ್ನ ಆಡಿಯೋ ವಿಡಿಯೋ ಕ್ಲೋಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ ನನ್ನ ಆಡಿಯೋ
உயர்ந்து 2 வருஷம் ஆகுது அந்த லைசன்ஸ். இப்பதான் கொஸ்டின் கேட்டு உட்காந்துருக்குது. ஆமா, இது ரெடியாச்சுல்ல? ஓகே. அதான் நானும் பைசா இந்த மாதிரி இதுக்காக வச்சுங்க.
Yes, Dr. Mohan Raj, thank you. Hello. Hello. Dr. Mohan Raj. Dr. Mohan Raj. Okay, I am through with it. Thank you very much. I am now logging out. I am now logging out.